The Face of the King by Adrian Tchaikovsky. As king of Naradvar, you go before your people masked, so the unworthy may not look upon your divine features. So your royal pronouncements are lent a stern gravitas, any flecks of individual temperament smoothed from them. Proper, regal dignity, imparted by the implacable gold face that all know as their king. Which tradition also means that when your vizier Enefet decides to murder his young master and take your place, the job is pathetically easy. A paralytic poison in your cup, excuses for the royal personage retiring early. Your memory of him staring down at your locked body, the divine ribs showing the faintest rise and fall, at his mercy. No longer the animate personage of rulership, but something to be disposed of. Trying to foresee how Enefet will go about it. Imagination the only part of you that can move. Cut your throat? Shed the blood divine? Who can say what curse might alight on the hand that does such a thing? The final wrath of the last scion of the royal line. No mere superstition. Such curses have killed before. History is replete with them. Dump your dying body in some alley of the lower city for the scavengers, perhaps? After all, who would recognize your face? Drawing off that mask, he stares down at the divine features. No god strikes him down for heresy. Perhaps the conservative pantheon of the city have already accepted this change to the status quo. He tries the mask on. It seems to fit him better than ever it did you. Enefet draws off his gloves. Some master tattooist has already gifted him the elaborate geometrical designs that decorate your own fingers. Those same patterns, a birthmark and a scar, mean he can't just dump your corpse on a trash pile. Someone might still ask questions about a distinctive cadaver. Worse, if you somehow recovered from the poison's slow death and started talking. A madman, people would think. Yet Naradvar's lower city holds an inconvenient number of inquiring minds within its cults and scholars' rings and acquirers' guilds. Perhaps he is thinking of acid, or the hungry mouths of beasts, to rid him of the last vestiges of your inconvenience. But you see the fear of your dying curse in his eyes. Stare helplessly at that fear, because your own eyelids are frozen. And so he begins dragging away your still living remains. Enefet will lose you somewhere, nobody will find you. Time and the poison eke out your death so that he can stand before the gods and say his hands are clean. Naradvar is built on the ruins of older places, and those in turn paved over elder still. There are cellars within cellars, pits and shafts, dungeons and oubliettes. Those who venture unwisely into the dark do not return. So it is, Enefet makes a midnight visit to a certain buried well that descends beyond knowledge, the waters of which bring terrible nightmares. With none to see, he casts you down the shaft, doubtless listening for the faint splash. It is not I who slew the king. It was the waters. Let any curse disperse amongst the ripples. So ends, as far as Enefet is concerned, your whole dynasty, though none will ever know. How many times has such a substitution happened, while the faintly smiling mask rules on? Peluchar, third of your name. You awake on the shore of a sunless sea, and know only that you have been betrayed. Weak as a fever victim, vomiting foul water, racked by shudders, alive, wishing you were dead. Every limb of you tortured, your skin on fire. You return to consciousness, trying to scream. The sound is just a rattle and a cough. You lie on your back. Above are strange stars, carnivorous constellations of luminous insects clinging to an unseen ceiling. They twitch and shudder into new patterns as their trailing threads catch bats and moths. The only fortunes foretold by such lights are bad ones. At first you cannot remember your own name, only that you had trusted, and that trust had been broken. Your existence is a knot of pain. It hurts to breathe. Your guts cramp. Your very eyes and teeth feel bruised, your tongue a strip of sand-crusted leather. You lie at the borderlands of sea and shore, life and death, and wait to see which will claim you. Darkness rises within you, and you slip into it gratefully, feeling you will not wake again. And yet, you do. No stronger, surely, but some of the leeching poison has withdrawn from you. Hunger jostles with death and sickness. Blind fish butt against your bare feet. You grope, just as blind, trying to seize them. Imagine yourself tearing into their watery flesh with your teeth. You're too weak, they too fleet. And Effet chose wisely. The dark and the cold, the hunger or else some subterranean predator. These things will kill the king. The hidden usurper need fear no retribution, mortal or divine. You recall draining the cup, fitting its spout to the slot of your mask with the ease of long practice, and Effet sitting across from you, watching you slyly. But then, slyness was what one expects from one's vizier, is it not? And Effet, the all-capable, who had insinuated himself between you and the world until he oversaw every aspect of the royal life, including its end. Betrayed! The thought brings a surge of improbable strength to your limbs, and you stand. Revenge! The passion filling you, but only as water fills a sieve, already leaking from all the places where the poison broke you, even as you lurch away from the water, reaching for the cavern walls, gashing your hands on a rock, knowing that the moment you stop moving, you'll collapse again, measure your length on the lightless stone, and that will be the end of you. It will be a mercy when it happens. Everything hurts, and you are no warrior king used to privation, a privileged child who inherited the world and everyone in it placed there to serve and adore you, or at least the mask you wore. Now your face is naked to the cave's dank air, as though you've been flayed, only raw twitching muscle left, flinching from every breath. Your feet strike something and you fall forwards, battering your body against a rank of hard edges, weeping with the pain, the indignity, how hard it is. Only that fading echo of revenge has you on your feet again. You try to cry, I shall return! I shall reclaim my throne! And hear only a deathly croak from your throat. It lends you strength, though. And in the echo, you realize you've fallen against the worn edges of stone steps. Above, a greyish radiance that is not just the hungry stars above the lost sea, but something new. A week pre-dawn, forever on the point of breaking. A buried day that will never escape its own tomb. Your city is built on ruins, and those ruins were ill-omened long before the first stones of Naradvar were laid. The work of sinister peoples whom your bold ancestors put to the sword, and before them, the crumbled edifice is raised by hands not human at all. Venture deep enough, and the very air is made of ghosts and history. But light, even that unhealthy grey pallor, is better than utter darkness. You stride up the steps, you stagger. You crawl up them, bloodying your knees, feeling the last of your strength slicking their chipped edges, until you come in sight of the altar, and you fall. The last of the poison, the exertion, cold, hunger, they haul you down like a gang of lower city bravos. A temple, lost to time, illuminated by a sourceless, leaden light. A deity, nameless now, but honored once. Heaps of finery are mounded behind the altar, jeweled icons of jade, knives of chalcedony. And here you lie, a final offering to a dead deity, save that something moves in your failing sight, for the altar is alive, and so is the god. What do you see at first? A great stone block carved with a writhing mass of worms and centipedes, lizards, serpents, formless, tentacled things, rats and ravening wolves, and shapes like men, yet not human. The carvings seem to pour from the altar's face, down its sides and out across the intricately worked basalt floor towards you. Yet they are not carvings, and the altar is not stone. Motion ripples there, the intricate figures welling up from the depths of the gelid mass, crawling over its surface, fighting their way clear of it only to deliquesce into the rotting substance of the floor. A sluggish life pervades the altar, a mindless drive towards fecund creation that lies shackled here beneath the earth. You have the sense of something crouching invisibly over the altar, a great, mute giant filling all the space within the shrine. The god, locked away beneath such a burden of stone, patron of a vanished people, frustrated and maddened at centuries of disuse. You are fading by then, dying, already half lost in your own mind, the messengers of your senses bringing only unreliable and cryptic news. What will you give me?
Anything, you cry in your head. I shall raise temples in your name. I shall shed blood on your altars, if only...
What is it you wish?
What are the last desires of Pelachar III, dethroned king of Naradvar? Revenge, you cry into the void. Revenge and the strength to achieve it. Make me whole and let me return to the sun to have my revenge.
Later. Days later. Whole moons, who could say? A man crawls out of a lightless crack in the wall of a tomb and stumbles into the streets of Naradvar's lower city. He wears ancient robes, papery with time and fortified with gold thread. He carries a knife of obsidian and a sack of treasure. He has a face nobody knows, and though the man is you, at the same time he seems a stranger.
You look up at the moon. You feel the night on your skin, a world away from the chill exhalation of the underworld. You cannot know what days you have lost, but you have returned. And in the high city, in your palace, Enefet sits upon your throne, enjoys your pleasures, wears your mask, but not for long. A second chance. The blessing of some pre-human thing of crawling growth and life that has given you this new vitality because in all the world you were its one votary. And then, renewed and strong again, you filled a sack with its offerings and treasure, swearing, I will raise a temple, and knowing you never will. Not when you're king again and have other diversions. But you cannot simply walk into the palace and demand all bow before you. Who would know you? They kneel to the mask, not the man. You will have to be an intruder in your own halls until you can serve Enefet the way he tried to serve you. And to invade the palace of the king, against all those vigilant guards and wards, demands skills that your life of indolence never prepared you for. But if Naradvar is blessed with one thing in excess, it is villains. The lower city seethes with resourceful malcontents. 1,000 guilds and sects and secret societies fester there, and though they mostly prey upon each other, neither the houses of the rich nor the palace itself are proof against their attentions. And you have treasure to whet their appetites, and the promise of more to come. And so it is that you set out to make the worst of your subjects serve their rightful king. Olek the Borquan is a heavy woman, so massive that the world seems to bend inwards towards her as though whispering secrets in her ears. And secrets are her business, that a man with a sack of treasure can pry from her one by feeding her gold like grapes. A jowly, ill-tempered face, absurdly luxurious dark hair piled elegantly atop her head, and, you suspect, stored elegantly on a stand when she sleeps. Yet you've won her over, with the fire of your purpose and riches you stole from a god. Into the palace. She pours you both some wine and scratches at her chins. It's been done. Not often, but in living memory. You remember when they turned the whole city over looking for the arch-steward's sword? You do indeed. Your father was incandescent with fury. They hung 100 thieves and vagabonds and never found the true culprit. Now, looking at Olek the Borquan's coarse features, you know you could hear the whole story if only you asked carefully enough. You don't even know what a Borquan is. What do you bring besides seed money? She asks. I know the palace inside out, you tell her. You were, you say, a servant there. And the servants have many secret ways so they may be where needed without offending the eye and crossing from place to place. And of all things, you were never a servant in the palace. But you were a child there once. Children get everywhere they're not supposed to. She pays for a meal with your money in a nearly windowless taverna stinking of stale beer, of the sweat, vomit, and blood of its patrons. She picks over what you can tell her of how the riches of the kings are defended. Because, of course, you've told her it's all about the riches, not the king. And though certain choice trinkets have been abstracted from the palace, no one has ever reached the treasury itself. The challenge speaks to Olek. Too many guards patrol the lowest floors, she decides, each with a whistle and a loud voice and a bronze gorget to stop a garrote from conveniently silencing either. But the roof gardens give more cover. A good climber, a soft shoe cove, someone to get up, get in, get you all in. And so she introduces you to Elamy the ape. There's precious little of the ape in Elamy. She's small, precise, elegant, restrained. She doesn't brag. She doesn't smile. Mention of the palace neither makes her blanch nor ruddies her cheeks with greed. It's a job. The down payment is good. The promise of plunging her hands into the royal treasury is satisfactory. Her approach to parting the wealthy from their valuables is so clinical you can't tell why she's even in the trade. Of course, Elamy says in her sparse little back room above a cooper's shop. The palace wardens know full well the weaknesses of their charge. There's a reason the roof garden has no human guards. The grounds likewise. They are not safe from dusk to dawn. And so Oleg introduces you to Jans, the Silent. He's anything but silent when you meet. A broad, squat man, gnarled by outdoor life from some nomad's tribe you've never heard of, exiled to Naradvar for crimes you don't even have words for in your language, drinking fermented milk and roaring greetings to this regular or that in a filthy gambling den you find him in. "I'm your man," he confirms happily, and it's not for the riches or the daring. He has some grudge against the crown or the king or the city or perhaps the whole concept of civilization. He will guide you through the savage wilderness of the palace grounds, through the shadows of the garden. But the palace itself, Jans shakes his beard at you. 1,000 clever locks and magical wards, curses and fire and poisonous needles. Elamy's contemptuous look says she can deal with locks, but magic is another matter. The lower city has 1,000 quacksalvers and failed apprentices and hedge witches, but a little knowledge is often worse than none at all, and nobody wants to rely on a magician who's almost good enough. So it is that Oleg brings you to Tenebric, the spider cultist. There are far too many spider cults in Naradvar for you to know this one. They're all forbidden, all secretive, and their arachnid iconographies are very similar. Tenebric shuffles up in a grey robe, face and voice sexless. You sit on stone benches in the shadow of a hideous icon whose 8 barbed limbs arc down towards the grooved and red-marked sacrificial stone. Tenebric lights up a pipe with a spark from their finger and listens to Oleg's pitch. You expect the cultist to be on fire with arachnid heresies, striking a blow against the orthodox pantheon. Except Tenebric is all about the money, because being a devotee of the spider god pays very poorly. The gifts of the spider will undo the magics of the palace, so long as Tenebric gets first pick of the treasure. So, Oleg, the Borquan, furnishes you with your team, and one night, soon after, you gather within sight of the palace, the thief, the wild man, the cultist, slinking through the shadows of rich houses, dodging the patrols of the king's own guard, here to rob the king, here to thumb their noses at the king, here, though they don't know it, to restore the king to his throne. The walls of the palace grounds are tall, capped with broken shards of sword blades, every weapon used by the Uthrani war host when they came and battered themselves to death against the city. Their edges are too sharp for a rope to find purchase amongst them, and the walls are too smooth for even a lizard to climb. Elamy the ape is up and over them in 3 breaths and has a side gate open in another 6. As swiftly as that, you become an intruder in your own home. The grounds themselves are a patchwork of pleasure gardens, fountain-decked groves, and broad open parades. You've often spent afternoons with your favourites here, reaping the pleasures of power while men like Enefet gave the orders that ran your city. Only while the sun shone, however. After dark, not even the king could safely walk these shadowed haunts. Your servants saw to that, letting slip the great barred gates to the pens, giving the beasts free roam. More than one opportunistic rogue had left only a few scraps of bloodied clothing as testament to the palace's defences. They come slavering out of the night. They do not bark. Why warn those doomed to die? Not dogs, not cats, not crocodiles. Something of the bear, of the hyena in the front heavy way they stand. Great spines crest their backs, their tusks a murder. Your royal blood is no more to them than that of the least beggar. Jans steps forwards and becomes true to his name. A quiet gathers about the hirsute barbaric little man, as though the whole ground and air, the trees, the night itself bends low to listen. He locks eyes with the lead beast and approaches it, one hand extended. The silence of Jans the Silent slowly clenches into a fist so tight you cannot breathe. Elamy's eyes are wide. Tenebric thoughtfully
rubs fingertip against chin. Jans lays a hand upon the beast's muzzle. His lips move, but his words are only for the monster, not for you. A moment later, the creature licks his hand, nuzzles at him with its appalling tusked head, and then the pack lopes off as if none of you are there. Even though it's what you counted on, the dereliction of their duty hurts you. When you are restored, you will have better beasts, more savage, less amenable to these primitive wiles. Soon, you are at the argent walls of the palace itself. You crouch low as guards move past, peering out of each narrow window as though they too fear the beasts. You know an army of servants will be abroad in the 100 rooms within, cleaning and mending and making everything perfect so that the king, the false king, might see no fleck of dust, no stain, no mark. Any thieves entering the palace's lower floors would be detected at once. Even disguising yourselves would not serve. The age-old dance of the palace staff has been honed to meticulous perfection over generations, every one of them precisely placed so that an errant thief tripping through the halls would stand out as monstrously as one of the beasts from outside drinking tea in the aviary. So the roof garden. Ellamy scales the impossibly smooth wall without hesitating, more nimbly than any true ape, letting down a rope for those less talented, such as yourself. And in the end, they must haul you up because a life as king has not prepared you for such exertions. You sense their contempt. Even the studious cultist Tenebrick can climb a rope. You bear both the indignity and the scorn. Betrayal has taught you patience. The roof garden of the palace of Naradvar is no safer than the grounds. There are night-blooming plants here that can and have devoured intruders. These Yance identifies and guides you around. There are traps and deadfalls set by palace gardeners, and these Ellamy spots with her dark-adapted eyes. When the spider descends on Yance and sinks its fangs into him, it is a surprise to all. He has time for one shocked exhalation, and then the venom has him, and the monster is threatening you all with its hooked legs, its sickle mandibles. You have no idea if this is some guardian you never heard tell of, or whether the roof garden was already harbouring an intruder. Perhaps there have been absences among the staff nobody's been able to account for. Too late for Yance, but Tenebrick raises the symbol of their cult and speaks certain words that twist and sear in the ear, and the monstrous arachnid calms and stares at you with its many eyes. Tenebrick speaks with it, or at least makes sounds, and seems to listen to replies. The spider tells Tenebrick where its brood is, and what parts of the roof garden to steer clear of. You do not recover Yance's body. What would you do with it? It has become the spider god's due, consecrated by the cultist post facto. The gates that lead into the upper floors of the palace are warded with magic and barred with iron locks. The ease with which Tenebrick and Ellamy together can dismantle these protections is demoralizing. In your head, you are building quite the list of changes to the palace's defenses. There are certain lax functionaries who will be hauled before the king, the newly reinstated king, who will hold them to a stern accounting of their failures. Once inside, it is time for your own contribution to this venture. You lead them from chamber to chamber, through the servants' doors you used as a child to hide from your tutor's rod or your father's hand, into dusty, unused little rooms when you hear the scuff of sandals ahead, out through paintings and false panels and sliding stone blocks, all the strange workings decreed by generations of seneschals and viziers and bored royalty. The upper stories of the palace at night are a maze of locks and wards. Only a handful of servants are permitted here, and each knows only one path. You were an industrious child, though. You found many of them, and you can circumvent much of your own defences. When you come across a lock you cannot find a way around, Ellamy attacks it with picks and springs it
too swiftly. When you find a ward or a watchful ghost or a protective sigil, the subtle machinations of the spider cult suffice to circumvent it. Even though this is all slaved to your purpose, you are slick with cold sweat at how close an assassin might have come had not your own vizier got to you first. And then, the door to the royal chambers. 8 feet tall, faced with bronze panels showing the great victories of your forefathers, who were so mighty that their descendant never needed to be strong or determined or even particularly clever, until now. How odd that only betrayal served to wake the king within you. And even you, untrained, can see the shimmer of the magics defending the portal. 1,000 royal curses on the unworthy hand that defiles these doors. But Tenebric is undaunted, kneeling and drawing runes in blood and soot around the frame, building a stealthy web that catches all the power of your ancestors and holds it helpless and raging. 100 years of forbiddance and royal privilege undone as simply as that. And Tenebric executes a magicianly flourish at their own cleverness and lays a hand upon the ring of the door and hisses in pain as the simple needle set there breaks skin and discharges its load of venom. The cultist collapses, twitching, fitting, foaming, dead in seconds before your eyes. And that makes 2, half your number. LME looks grim. You do not care. The door is open despite Tenebric's death. You step into your own chambers, knowing that here there are no more traps, no wards, no beasts, only you and the usurper. LME pads across the antechamber. You have explained that the king's own treasure is held within a secret room accessed by a panel on a certain wall. She sets about searching for the catch with professional care. You creep to the next door, inch it open, see the mounded form lying in the bed beyond, hear its steady breath. Beside the bed, the golden mask of the king rests crooked on its stand. The air tastes of imminent revenge, but you have one last piece of business to deal with. Elemi is still searching, glancing at you with a frown. "Where's the catch?" she murmurs, so consumed with the rigors of her profession she doesn't even note the obsidian knife in your fist. You drive it into her side, under her ribs, then again and then into her neck. Her scream, after so much silent work, is shocking. You stab her again to make sure, and then drive the knife into her corpse. There is no catch. There is no secret panel. You will have no thieves sullying your treasure. And the usurper needed a wake-up call because you will not simply slit his throat in his sleep. He must know before he dies. He has a lamp lit. He has the mask on when you enter. The golden visage stares serenely at you, sheets pulled up to that metal chin. You look for panic in the eyes behind it, but instead find something else, a raw emotion you have no words for. "So," says the muffled metal tone the mask lends to the king. Hard to understand, really. Small wonder the voice of the vizier was always louder. "That's right, Enefet," you say, showing him the knife, letting the lamplight glisten on Elemi's blood. "I'm back. You cannot keep the true royal line in darkness, and when I've finished with you, I shall have every member of your family excruciated, yes, even those who have the least drop of your blood. I shall have magicians locate your least acknowledged bastards and flay each last one, even be they babes in arms." And he laughs. Not a happy laugh. Not the sound of vizierly cunning about to turn the tables on the intruder. A terrible, bleak sound of a man who's lost far more than life or kin. "You're too late," that empty, hollow voice. "It's been done. Exactly as you describe. To the last one of them." You blink, taken aback. But perhaps all of Enefet's family were as treacherous as he, and even the man himself could not trust them. Then I shall finish the task here and now, you tell him, and close with him. He slips from the sheets, naked, a younger, leaner body than you'd expect from a vizier. That laugh again. You don't know, he tells you. You never know. Arms spread, inviting the knife. Oh, gods, do it then, just get it over with, I'm tired. You'd wanted pleading. You'd wanted misery. Enefet's last moments should have been drowned in agony and fear, not this weird relief. With a snarl, you reach forwards and do what no man might do save the rightful king himself. You tear the royal mask from his face. It is not his face. You know whose face it is. The weak chin, the long nose, the watery, flinching eyes, a face inferior to the calm majesty of the mask in every way, a face the bronze of your mirror showed you every morning. Your face. You recoil. The mask, the king's sacred mask, falls from your fingers and clangs to the floor. You stand before yourself, and you, that other you, trembles and laughs and sobs all at once. Enefet is dead, with all his line, the other you tells you. I saw to it myself. I had the torturers teach me so I could tear his skin off a strip at a time. I had my revenge. I retook my throne and the mask. That should have been the end of it. It is a trick. Some magic, some sleight of hand. You menace yourself with the knife, forcing that other you back against the wall. There's no fear of the blade in him, but there is fear. A terrible fear that goes far beyond that of pain or even death. Fear of a universe grown vast and cancerous behind the walls you thought were unscalable, the doors that should have remained locked. You keep coming, he says with your lips. I can't stop it. That terrible broken laugh again. I have seen 18 of you, of me, dead. Some in the lower city, some come straight to the palace gates, ranting about being the true king. Some torn apart in the grounds, killed by the guards, poisoned by the traps, blasted by the wards. 18! And now this, one of us, more patient and cunning than the others, and here you are, breaching the royal bedchamber, just as I did months before when I came for Enefet. Lies. You spit. But he's not even listening. I don't know how many others of us died that I didn't even see, he tells you earnestly. I just know we don't stop coming. We keep crawling out of the dark down there, knowing only one thing, that we want revenge. Lies, you repeat desperately. 18 corpses with our face, he whispers. People are starting to notice that when they find intruders in the grounds, they all look the same. And nobody knows the face, of course, except me, except us. And down there in the dark, they're still coming, one after another, an eternal act of creation, because we demanded it, because we asked for it, and it was a god of life, generous beyond our wildest dreams. He has your wrist. You try to draw back, but he won't let you. Inexorably, he guides the knife until the blade is at his throat, which is your throat, perfect in every detail. I can't live like this, he tells you, wild-eyed. Take the knowledge from me. Take it all. You'll never be safe, because you'll always be coming for you. Untold legions of you. You'll never sleep soundly, and the last thing you'll ever see will be your own face. No, no, you croak. And then he forces your hand, literally, opens his own throat with your blade. Royal blood floating out down your arm, slicking the floor.
Except perhaps the blood royal isn't so precious anymore. What gives a thing value after all, save scarcity? The body, your body, collapses down the wall and sprawls on the royal floor. You've had your revenge. You've reclaimed your throne. Again, you're king once more. Until the next time. Until the temple deep below vomits out the next you, resourceful enough to evade your traps and guardians and find you here. Until the lower city fills with displaced kings, all conspiring to retake a throne that's been taken and retaken until it holds no meaning anymore. Until the whole city groans and cracks with the burden of so many true heirs, drowns in an ocean of royal blood. You sit on the bed. The knife tumbles from numb hands. Outside, beyond the antechamber, there is a soft footstep, the stealthy tread of a new intruder. You close your eyes. You don't want to see their face. And that was The Face of the King by Adrian Tchaikovsky.